Hello and welcome to another episode of Live Feed with your host, Richard Santiago. Live Feed is brought to you by Traveling Tech Teacher. For all your digital resources, check out travelingtechteacher.com. Also brought to you by thebullyexposed.com, a 501c3 nonprofit organization geared at helping survivors of bullying, so let them help you. Also brought to you by one more person, DaveStevensSpeaks.com. DaveStevensSpeaks.com. And today, my guest host is going to be an amazing guy. And by the end of the show, I promise you, you will say the same thing. This man is amazing, Dave Stevens. So let me send him an invite to come on to the show. Give me a second. I hope that you're all doing very well today. So I sent him a link. I sent him the information. Let's see. But yeah, Dave Stevens is an amazing guy, guys. You can see he's here with David, one of my favorite Yankees, David G. Excuse me. Jeter. He's here with Jeter and Derek Jeter, excuse me. And he's just an amazing guy, this guy. Jen Poole and Linda Leon, thank you for joining the show. And here he is. There he is. Dave is on with us. So let me give him an invite to join us. But amazing guy. He truly is amazing guy. And as I said in the beginning of the show, by the end of the show, you're going to say the same thing. This guy is amazing. So let me give you a proper introduction, David. Please give a warm welcome to number 44 in your program, Dave Stevens. How you doing, Dave?
Good. How are you doing? Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir. I hear you
All right.
fine.
I got my fancy microphone and everything here, so
awesome.
Give you the best, right?
Good. It's working good. Let me
cool.
tell you. So, you know, if we did a show about the accomplishments that you didn't do, this would literally be a 2-second show, honestly, because you have accomplished so much. So let's run down a list of things, and you can kind of tell us, you know, your feelings when that happened. Well, first off, you know, I'm sure one of the most things that you're proud about is being a father of 3 boys, right?
Yeah, that's been absolutely the best thing that's ever happened in my life is having kids. You know, it's been the biggest challenge, but it's really. Hello, you got me?
Yes, we got you back. Go ahead.
Okay. No, it's been the biggest challenge of my life, but it's been also the most rewarding. I have boys that are 16, 14, and 12, and you know, if you can imagine, you know, not having legs and you know, first having artificial legs and pushing them and a child, you know, booster, and then, you know, when I ripped up my shoulders, switching to a wheelchair and, you know, trying to manipulate 3, it was always, you know, quite a bit of a challenge. But yeah, you know, I've done everything I've ever set my mind out to do, you know, that a lot of people just, you know, wish and dream and sit around, and I've always kind of gone out and found a way to accomplish things that no one else on the entire planet has ever done.
Amazing. Let's go through some of those. So in 1980, you became the only legless college athlete at Augsburg
College, yeah, Augsburg University now in Minnesota.
What sports did you play there?
I wrestled for a little bit in college, played 3 years of football, and I played 1 year of baseball, and then I managed the JV team for a year in college. And then after that is when I had a tryout with the Dallas Cowboys, and then I signed with the St. Paul Saints and played 3 weeks with Darryl Strawberry and Jack Morris in Minnesota.
Right.
And, you know, spent 20 years at ESPN and won 7 Emmys. And, you know, now I get to work for the Disability Channel and travel around and interview stars and, you know, do a lot of philanthropy with d3day.com and the Nubability, which is nubability.org, which is baseball camps for kids missing arms and legs, and, you know, guys like Shaquem Griffin and Jim Abbott. We've got a lot of, you know, of guys that I didn't have as role models as a kid. You know, there were no there were no books how to play sports for no legs for dummies. So I kind of just had
Right.
to evolve and figure my way out because there weren't adaptive sports. I'm 54 years old, so there wasn't really, much of anything in those days. So if I wanted to play sports, I just had to figure it out.
Wow. So go through us. You played hockey too, right? I thought I saw a
Yeah,
video.
I've been playing sled hockey the last couple of years, which has been really awesome for an old fart like me to be able to run up and down the ice and smash into 20-year-old kids and freak them out because I get my face and I'm screaming at them and stuff, and it's been really fun because I had never played adaptive sports. So it's kind of like when a parent has a child with a disability, they don't know what it's like on both sides. I now know what adaptive sports are, and I've really been a champion of that cause now, even though I don't play all of them. I know how important they are for any athlete that's out there that has limitations or is limb different or physically challenged or whatever you want to call it.
Right.
They need to have those opportunities to be an athlete and feel, like everybody else. Because not having legs is my normal. People always want to label me if, you talk about my resume. I tried out for the Olympic baseball team. I was in the same outfield with Barry Bonds and Odie McDowell. Like all these things, if you put it on a piece of paper, they'd be like, wow, is this dude Bo Jackson? And you're like, no, he
Right.
doesn't have any legs. It just blows their mind. So I've been very blessed, and I wouldn't want to be any other way because I've had, this amazing ride. I call myself Forrest Gimp because I've done all this amazing stuff, I've pinch hit for Darryl Strawberry, I've done
Right.
stuff that people only dream about doing.
Right, right. Yeah. And if you're tuning in, we're talking to Dave Stevens from DaveStevensTalks.com, an amazing athlete in spite of every obstacle that he has come across. Um, so let's talk about the sport. So you played football, baseball. What else did you say?
I wrestled.
Wrestle. So in the
Yeah.
football and the baseball, what positions did you play in those sports?
In football, I was nose guard. That's the defensive guy that lines up across the center, the guy that hikes the ball. And then I also held for extra points and field goals because I was down on the ground and, had really good hands. So, and then in baseball, I played right field and I played a little second base. And later in life, I got to pitch. And I've gotten to be able to, work out with the Tampa Rays and Joe Madden and, work out with minor league baseball players like Tim Tebow and, just these guys that come and watch me hit and field and, do what I'm doing at my age at 54. I'm blessed that I can still kind of get out there, not as good as I used to be, but hit some balls and turn some heads and wow some people and let them realize that, man, people can have an ability despite, the obvious. And I think the thing I want people always to take away is that, I do the best I can with what little I have. And those guys have these amazing tools. And I think it inspires them to go, man, I'm not going to complain about my ankle or my leg when this dude's out there running on his hands and his butt.
Right, right, exactly. And one day when I was checking out Instagram, I came across this photo. This photo inspires me so much, David. It truly, truly does. And that's what made me reach out to you and say, I got to get this guy on the show one way or another. It's very inspirational, this photo.
Yeah,
So,
it's weird how, I shot that photo myself.
oh,
My
really?
kid, I put the camera on a tripod, put it on reverse, and my kids were hitting balls to me. And I just happened to have it framed like that ball hits it right there with the American flag. And it's just like,
Yes.
it just says effort. It's the epitome of kind of, it's pretty cool that you picked that out because that was just, a couple of years ago. It's like, it wasn't like if you look over, the web and stuff, there's like an almost identical picture of me doing that in high school. The
Oh,
same
wow.
old thing, and here you flash forward to almost 35 years later, and here I am doing the same thing in a minor league ballpark. So I'm so lucky that my body is breaking down. I've had rotator cuff surgery on both shoulders, and it's like I don't know how much longer I can do it, but as long as people can see what I'm doing, I feel like as long as they're going to stare at me, I got to give them a show. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Give them something to look at. Good attitude. That's definitely a good attitude. So let's talk about these 7 Emmys because I got to tell you, I'm very jealous of that. As a filmmaker myself, that's where I want to go. That's where I want to be. So definitely, let's talk about 7 Emmys. Did they all come with you working as with ESPN?
Yeah, I was at ESPN for 20 years, and they came, spaced over, that 20-year span, and one
Right.
was for my work on Sports Center, one was for Baseball Tonight, one was for NFL Countdown. My career moved around, and I did different shows. One of them, I created a feature that won an Emmy. It was based on the feature. Right when Tom Brady started doing his thing, his first year 20 years ago, I thought,
Okay.
hey, how cool would it be to get the cast of the Brady Bunch to pretend he was the fourth Brady brother? So I tracked down, Barry Williams and Lookinland and all the boys, and they got on board with it. And Brady
All
wasn't
right.
Brady then; they had just started the success, so they all agreed to do this skit, and it was amazing to have Brady be a part of it. And it was just this comedy skit where and little Tommy in the backyard threw the football so hard it hit Marcia in the nose, and boom, oh my
Right.
nose! Like, we used all that stuff, and that won an Emmy, and like, so that kind of means the most to me, because that feature, like, it was so early in the deal. We did like a behind the that was the True Hollywood Entertainment thing. And there were people that early in the internet that really believed that he was part of it. Like, it was just so stupid that people would actually believe it. But, those trophies mean a lot. They're heavy, they're downstairs. I don't really have them up anywhere. But, for me, being somebody who was born without legs, when you win an Emmy, it's not based on your disability. It wasn't a participation trophy. It wasn't something they handed you. It was something I earned based
Right.
on what I did in my work. And so that's why, it doesn't have, anybody missing legs. It just says Dave Stevens, associate producer, ESPN. Like, that's what really is the epitome of my career.
Awesome. That's awesome. So let's see here. So it says, let's see, that you have covered, let's see, 14 of the big game that plays on February 7th for that football league,
Yeah.
and 3 World Series, 3 NCAA Final Fours, and other historical events. I was very curious what historical events, like, you have covered boxing.
I was at Cal Ripken's 21-31 game where he passed Lou Gehrig. I've been at 4 or 5, covering 4 or 5 of the 3,000 hits for, it was Paul Molitor, Dave Winfield, Eddie Murray. I've been at those. I've been really lucky to be part of 2 World Series with the Minnesota Twins in '87 and '91, and build friendships with guys like Jim Abbott and people along the way. I'm so blessed that even at my age still, that I'm getting out there and talking to Rob Gronkowski and Russell Wilson and these guys that just kind of open up to me and talk and have fun with me, and we go places that a lot of interviewers wouldn't do, because I'm not ashamed to ask crazy, wild questions. And the elephant in the room is I don't have any legs, and once I get past that, we have a good time.
Right. That's amazing. Yeah, you talk about Jim Abbott. I remember 1993, my daughter was just born, and him pitching his no-hitter. Because as you can see, I am a Yankee fan, and I remember that very vivid. But it's really funny to me. I don't remember it being a situation of limb difference. I thought maybe it was an accident that he lost his arm in, and he decided, I'm not going to give that up. So that's very interesting. And I know that you interviewed him. How did that go with you? What did you
Oh,
take away from that?
it was a dream come true, and I asked him a lot of things that probably, a lot of interviewers wouldn't ask, but, I could go those places because, I knew from the perspective of what it was like to be somebody that is stared at and looked at and picked on and bullied. And, so, and then after the interview, and it's on YouTube on my Dave Stevens Speaks page, if any of your listeners or
Yes,
viewers
I'm
want to see
following
it.
that.
It's he sent me an email afterwards saying that was the best interview I've ever done. Nobody's ever asked me the questions that I ask. And it was just like, there's sometimes you have insight. People of color know a different way to attack and ask questions. Hispanic people have a different journey. So those of us with, disabilities or differences or whatever, we're not afraid to talk about what it was like for dating and the awkwardness of people staring, and, how I'm a rock star, not by choice, but people stare at me everywhere I go. They look, just today, a little kid walking down the street, I had an outburst. He saw me and said, "Oh my God, look at that, Mom." And it's like, you get used to it, but you don't in a certain way, just because,
Right.
you try to block it, but then there's that reaction, the innocence of youth. And it's just like, oh yeah, it's an uncomfortable situation because this guy doesn't have any legs, and the mother's all upset. And I'm like, no, it's okay. It's like, I'm not a monster. I want him to see, hey, I'm just this dude.
Right. Makes sense. So let's dip into that. Unfortunately, a subject that's very close to my heart, bullying. What kind of bullying did you experience as a kid? Or how long did it last? Did it last all the way into college, or
It
how was
it all depends. We're in a different era, so sometimes bullying at the time may have been a way of acceptance. So like,
it?
I wore artificial legs when I was a kid. So my teammates would take my legs and hide them in a locker or stick them up in the rafters of the ceiling, or, they would do stuff, but it's like I would do stuff back to them. And you're kind of like, ha ha ha, I'm one of the team. But, there was an incident one time when I was just freshman football playing, and I'm on my butt in the shower in Wickenburg, Arizona, and the water was always cold. We didn't have hot water. It was just one cold temperature. And I'm washing my hair and I'm doing my thing, and it gets really warm. And I hear laughing, and it's warm on the back of my head. And you can kind of
Oh
imagine where I'm
God,
going with this. And I turn around, and the guy is
right.
urinating on my head. Kid's name was Beefo Sanders. I'm not joking. His name was Beefo. And he's peeing on my head. And with instinct, I just punched him right there, and knocked him down, dropped him on the ground. He's rolling around on the floor. The old football coach comes out, the typical old football coach missing a couple of fingers from a shop accident, and he's like, "What the hell's going on?" And they're like, "Beefo pissed on Steven's head." Well, what did Stevens do? He punched him in the nuts. And coach just said, "Justice served." And he turned and he walked around and he went back in the locker room. And nobody ever messed with me ever again. Nobody did. It was like, so nowadays in this day and age, he would have been suspended. He might have been expelled. Like, the things that I tolerated and put up with, I had to get a, Teflon and get a chip on my shoulder because, people pick on you. And then as I had successes in sports, this little legless kid became this legend in Arizona, and all the people had to come out and see for themselves. And I got to be on a TV show called That's Incredible, and, flew to
Oh,
Hollywood,
I
and
remember that show.
I'm in a green room with this little 5-year-old snotty kid hitting golf balls. The kid's Tiger Woods. And I swear, if you go on YouTube, there's that video of me and Tiger Woods on That's
I'll have to
Incredible.
look that up.
So it's just, like I said, Forrest Gump type world. My world has been around all these
Right.
amazing things. And I'm very blessed and lucky. And I hope that people can take a lot away from what I do. But yeah, getting to the bullying, I don't know if it ever stops, but, you hope that, my message can let people, learn to have tolerance, but also learn to have acceptance. And I try to teach them that, my normal is not having legs, and it didn't set me back. It helped enhance the goals, and I set unrealistic goals to be in TV and to play professional baseball. And I did that. I've done things that, I don't know if anybody will ever do without legs or a disability like me. And I'm happy to pass the torch to a guy like Shaquem Griffin, with one arm playing with the Seattle Seahawks, and all these other
Wow.
able-bodied athletes that you're seeing limb different with nub ability. And then, you talk about Jim Abbott, what he did and what he meant
Right.
to the sport. So there's so many people out there that are much, more worthy. I don't say I'm an inspiration. I'm just a guy that loves sports. There are people that are role models and heroes that have done so much more. I just live my life.
All right. If you're just joining us, we're talking to Dave Stevens, an amazing man that has accomplished so much in sports despite his limb difference. You're definitely building legacy. I love that saying that I heard you say on your YouTube channel, and you're definitely building a legacy. Um, so you know this because I told you when I was researching you, I found these videos with you helping kids that are limb different and teaching them sports. And I just bawled because I know how important that is for someone to see someone that looks like you or that might have the same attributes as you to be showing you and to be so successful. Tell us about that. Is that a nonprofit that you're working with? Is that
Yeah.
What is that?
There's two things I work with: nubability.org, which is the limb different kids missing arms and legs that are learning to play basketball and football and wrestling. That way they can just go and play in high school and little league and all these kind of things. And they're not going to always be great, but it also helps them to build confidence and teach them. And when you walk into a gymnasium in DuQuoin, Illinois, and you've got 180 limb different kids, nobody's staring at each other, because they're all the same. It's like
Right,
everybody's, we're all this big family, and it's been great to be a part of what Sam Cooner and Nubability has done. And so that's one. And then d3day.com is we put on baseball camps for kids with severe disabilities. And this is where we work with minor league camps, all of the players in AA and AAA and single A across the East Coast and some in Florida with the Twins and all these organizations. And they come out, we play with the kids with softballs and bats and do drills and stuff like that. And those are really the biggest impactful ones for me, because it's the one day that they're not trapped in their body, and you see kids, making noises and just having smiles, and their parents say, I've never seen them like this before. And it's like every camp is like Christmas to them, because they look forward to it. That's why this year has been so tragic to be able to have, these camps and make a difference and do the things that, I should be doing. It's really weird to have the summer off when all I do is, these camps.
right. Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. So let's see here. I'm seeing that in 1983, you had an invitation to try out for the Olympics. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I was my senior year in baseball in Arizona, and I hit 300. I was an outfielder. I had the record for walks in a season and a career, and they invited me out to Sun Devil Stadium, and there I was, in line in the outfield with Barry Bonds, another player named Odabe McDowell, and there was a pitcher named Doug Henry. Don Wakamatsu was one of the catchers, and these are all guys that made it to the bigs, and Will Clark was the first baseman, and it was amazing to be a part of that. Although meeting Barry Bonds was less than my favorite thing that ever happened, because he was kind of a jerk to me. We were in the outfield. I had made a couple amazing catches, like two of the greatest catches of my life. Odabe called me a hot dog and then said something like, hey, man, now you can play with the big boys. And we started to walk to the other field, and Odabe said, would you like a piggyback ride? Because I was walking on my arms. And he said, yeah, get on my back, and I'll give you a piggyback ride. So I started to do that, and Barry said, hey, man, why are you wasting your time with him? He ain't going to make the team, man. Don't waste your time. Put him down, man. Don't waste your energy, man. And I was like, wow, who's this guy? And he just said, that's
Yeah.
Barry being Barry. And I disliked Barry Bonds from that day, and to this day I still have not been a big Barry Bonds fan. So but you never who you're going to cross paths with, and to watch what's happened with him on steroids, he's kind of had his just desserts.
Right, right. Yeah, they say never meet your heroes, right? I mean, I don't know if
Yeah.
you're a hero, but they say never meet your heroes. I grew up in New York, and I remember the highlight of his career very much. But let's see here. Also, 96, you made history by signing a 3-week minor league contract with the St. Paul Saints.
Hmm.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, it was the owner was Mike Veck. He was a buddy of mine that when I was in Minnesota working local TV, I used to go out to the ballpark, and he knew my history of playing baseball. And his dad owned the Chicago, or let's see, the Cleveland Browns at the time. I think they were called in the 40s. And they had a weird stunt where they brought in a little person. They were called midgets in those days, but it was a little person, and he pinch hit in a major league game, and then they banned anything like that ever happening. Eddie Goodell was the little person. You go to baseballreference.com, there's one at bat, he was 3'2", something like that. And so I always thought growing up that was my challenge. I was going to challenge that to see if I ever got to that level. And
Right.
Mike gave me an opportunity with the St. Paul Saints, and I started a game at second base. I led off a game. I came Darryl Strawberry had hit 3 home runs, and he turns to me and he goes, hey, let Dave come in for me. And I pinch hit for Darryl Strawberry in a minor league baseball game. So I was, it was awesome to be teammates with Jack Morris. There was another former Twin named JT Brewitt that was on the team. And there I was, just another guy playing baseball like everybody else. I just didn't have any legs.
Wow, wow, awesome, awesome. So, uh, let's see. Anything you want to add? What other things did I miss? Because I'm sure I had to have missed some accomplishment that you have done.
No, I mean, I've been lucky to have played for Team USA in Ireland and New Zealand and Australia. I've been blessed to have tried out for the Cowboys. I played football for the Wounded Warrior Amputee football team the last 5 years at the Super Bowl. I got to play at halftime of a Miami Dolphins Green Bay Packers game in Lambeau Field.
Wow.
So there's all kinds of cool videos out there to watch and the things that I've done. And now, I'm just a motivational speaker. I get to go into schools and businesses and talk to people and just kind of, share about my life and my struggles and the accomplishments, but mostly the importance of, overcoming what I have. And again, trying to teach that, that normal, that we can stop bullying, we can stop, all of the discrimination and the apprehension, because we also, when you try to teach to stop bullying, you also have to teach tolerance and acceptance. And kids are curious and people are curious, and they try to make fun of things that upset them. And that's why it's kind of my job to educate a little bit and to put people at ease and tell jokes and say stupid things and kind of go, hey, this nutball, is just like anybody else.
Right, right. Interesting. So let's go a little further back. So it says on your website that your biological mother gave you up for adoption. Have you ever tried, like most people do, to go meet your biological mother?
Yeah, sadly, I was supposed to be on that TLC show where they find your parents,
Oh, okay.
and they found my parents, and it didn't work out too well. I did speak to my birth mother, and we did meet, and we text now and then. But my father was a different situation, and he, we had a 22-minute conversation, and he said, "You sound like a good kid. Let's stay in touch." And then, like 2 hours later, I got like a cease and desist letter and said, "Don't ever contact us. Don't ever try to reach out to us. Nobody wants to deal with you, know about you. You don't
Wow.
exist. You were a mistake." And here it is. And you just look at it, and it just feels like you're rejected twice. And it was really,
Right.
you know, it's not always that happy Hollywood ending when people find their parents and everything. Sometimes, and